Hey, what's up, guys? Today, let's talk about the best weapon in the game. So let's start by setting up some ground rules. First of all, the best weapon is going to depend on the situation and the type of activity you're doing. Let's get the obvious out of the way. PvE and PvP don't have the same best weapon. In fact, I don't even know what is the best weapon for PvE. I think there's a lot of options though, but I think you guys are here for the PvP though. But even PvP wise, the best weapon in invasions is going to differ massively from the best weapon in duels. Like some weapons that are top weapons in duels are like about average in invasions, a lot of them actually. Simply because I mean, we have to explain this concept first. For those who've been following since Dark Souls 3, you will remember the old saying that you need burst damage if you want to win invasions, and that still holds true today. Invasions are really all about the burst damage. And what does that mean? It just means doing a lot of damage in a short amount of time. And that's very important because in duels you can't heal. You can't heal in a duel, so every exchange really matters. But in an invasion, it's really one exchange that matters, because all the exchanges where you did mistakes don't really matter if you heal all your mistakes like away. So basically, if you get outplayed 20 times but you heal 20 times and you just erase all of these mistakes, although we don't have 20 heals in invasion, but actually with consumables probably. But either way, all the mistakes you do, as long as you heal back afterward, it doesn't really matter. All you really need is that one big opportunity to take one guy from 100 to 0. And that one opportunity comes from big damage and big combo damage. And there's a few things in this game which are very, very good for that, and that don't also sacrifice too much of your defense, because the best weapon obviously is going to be build dependent. Like, yeah, sure, you could try to go for big damage, but you don't want to sacrifice also the entirety of your character's defensive ability, because you want to resist some as well, especially in the long run. I think like the defense of your character doesn't necessarily come true when you look at one fight, but when you look at multiple fights over a longer period of time is really when you get to see the difference between like a 5% extra defense or something like that. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, I know you guys want to hear about like names, like give us names. What are the actual best weapons? Well, I mean, we could talk about obvious stuff, but let's just establish that the best weapons keep changing with the patches, and obviously with the new addition to the DLC. Like, the best weapon of yesterday is not necessarily the best weapon right now. Let's give an example. The Qatar has always been a good weapon in the base game, but now in the DLC, the Pada really blew like the Qatar out of the water and completely made it like irrelevant, because it's just better in every way. And Pada is one of those cases where it's very, very strong in duels, very, very strong in invasions, because it has that burst damage with that running R2 into R2 combo, and it's very easy to pressure with because it has a ton of range and a ton of speeds. Some weapons are like that. Is it necessarily the best weapon though? Well, I'm sure there's going to be other stuff that can like outplay it. Like a good dueling weapon is always going to be two-handed thrusting sword with Bloodhound Step. That's always going to be difficult to aggress, and played properly, it's always going to be extremely powerful no matter how you look at it. So there's always options like that. Now let's take another one. Shamshir is a very, very good weapon in duels, especially with sword dance. Although in invasions it just lacks a little bit of burst damage. It's not bad in invasion, but it's definitely not as strong as some other options that you have when it comes to powerful 1v1 weapons, like the Pada, for instance. Also, it's not just, you know, best weapon. Sometimes a good weapon can be made like even better by pairing it. Like, for instance, I don't think I would ever consider the halberd to be the best weapon, but the halberd is always much stronger when you pair it with a fast offhand that forces your opponent to roll, and it's always better when you pair it with flame strike. It's one of the good weapons to use with Flame Strike. When it comes to invasion weapons, when you look at the best performing invasion weapons, aside from the usual Ash of War stick, which unfortunately when you're looking for big burst damage, it comes down to, you know, which weapon carries the Ash of War the best, or which weapon has the best Ash of War. When you look at what was before the Stormhawk Act, it was really just an Ash of War stick, yet that weapon had a very, very strong win rate despite being, you know, not a very good weapon overall. But, I mean, it had that insane burst damage. So, you know, it's a little tricky to answer in that regard. But a weapon that carries Flame Strike, which is one of the better Ash of War for both invasions and duels, is the Freya Curved Greatsword. I talk about Freya a fair bit because it's definitely one of my favorite invasion weapon. It doesn't have any Flame Strike damage boost. I know I hear that a lot, and I actually thought it was the case at some point when the DLC came out, but the reason why you have Flame Strike on that, and the reason why it's so good on that, is really because Curved Greatsword carry Flame Strike the best because it does massive damage. The timing is just right when you do a Flame Strike after you land any attack. And so the weapon really lends itself to some very heavy Flame Strike damage, coupled with high burst damage potential. So you do running attack into Flame Strike, you take someone from 100 to 90% of their HP down, or sometimes you fully kill them with a simple running attack Flame Strike. So you're not going to get that type of damage with like a halberd, for instance. And also couple that with the fact that you have pretty brain dead Ipe Armor on Curved Greatsword, so that makes for a very, very powerful invasion weapon. Pretty top invasion weapon, even. Other than that, honestly, guys, there's more weapons than ever that are powerful in invasions. Like, it's hard to... Like, you'd have to look at, like, a list of all the weapons and like tier list them in order to like not forget about like any of them, because this game has so many strong options right now that it's very easy to overlook one option that's like stupidly obvious and powerful. So I just wanted to give like a few examples of good weapons and how they differ from their effectiveness in both invasions and duels, and how, for instance, a setup that has like a sight, that was something that came up in chat during this live stream. Someone that uses two-handed sight versus someone that uses one-handed sight main hand and offhand dagger. The offhand dagger is very, very strong in duels because it lets you win neutral exchanges more easily, because you can outspace and whiff punish quite reliably with an offhand dagger, and it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to not whiff. Whereas in invasions, whiff punish with a dagger doesn't really mean much, because it just doesn't do enough damage to to really make a dent into the enemies. And so like you're gonna be doing dagger attacks, and it's not really gonna do much unless you're going for a critical hit. So you're gonna be better off two-handing your weapon, using the two-handed talisman in invasions basically, as opposed to using a more traditional dueling setup that takes advantage of an offhand dagger, for instance. So these are the few things that I wanted to talk about. I hope you guys enjoy these topics. I'll keep making videos like that from time to time, and yeah, in the meantime, take care, guys. Have a good one. Oh, bro, the bleed. The bleed is a problem, man. Oh, where's the other guy? There he is. Yeah, he just put on the bleed thing. I mean, it's not a bad idea. Yeah, that's the BS there. Fortunately for him, it was the right play. Good early hit. Alright, Turtle, you need more poise, man. Oh, good fucking help there. Good save. Bro, the bleed teamwork is rough. It really is. Good read there. Good mix up there. Close.